All right. Good afternoon. Actually, good Monday afternoon. Hope everyone had a great weekend this weekend. So here we are again. It's a Monday, a new week. So hope everybody's well rejuvenated and is hitting the ground running this week. So a lot of things to talk about today, a lot of topics we have here for you guys to discuss. And today we'd love to have some feedback from our audience. Give us some feedback. Let us know your guys' thoughts on some of the topics. Want to hear what you guys are thinking out there. So, as usual, we have with us myself as Gershom, as you guys know. We have today Mr. Jingao, our vice chairman. We
Hello.
also have Mr. Jason Wong, as always, our
Hello.
executive leader and one of the founders for Viva Technologies. And as always, we have James in the background making things happen all the way out in California. So look, let's get things started. I hope you guys are feeling well today. Today's going good so far for everyone. And the first topic we have today is the Bitcoin mining difficulty. And that's important to us miners because, as we all know, as the mining difficulty goes down, which it does in a few weeks or so, then we mine more Bitcoin. And I know that our vice chair, Mr. Jing Gao, a few times have gone over the mining difficulty to explain how that works and why it benefits us. So, Mr. Gao, what do you think? Difficulty is down 9% for the past couple of weeks. I love it.
I love it too.
Yeah.
Just like what we predicted before, right? We talked about when the halving starts, the hash rates, it's going to go down by 30%. The Bitcoin hash rates. The most of the S9 miners will not be profitable unless you're in a situation where your maintenance fees, your electricity is really low. So at that time, I think one of the articles said that was a 30% decrease, right? So obviously, it's going to take some time for that 30% to be realized. So the first adjustment after the halving was a 6%. That was a decrease 6% a few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, and now another 9%, right? Another 9.29%.
Yeah.
Right. So
which is huge, actually.
Yeah. So all these technical and all these predictions and projections are coming into fruition. All right. And a lot of people are predicting that will be another decrease in the next adjustment. All right. So I'm hoping that will be correct, and that will bring us close to that 30% decrease in hash power. Now, what's so great about what's so good for the miners like us, right? Of course, as the mine difficulty goes down, then you mine more Bitcoin, right? That's what I like about Bitcoin mining instead of just buying in Bitcoin. I think both is great. If you want to get into Bitcoin, either way is great. But I like the mining part because yes, it's very fluid and it's kind of like it adjusts itself. Right, you buy it at one time. For example, right now it's about $9,700 per Bitcoin. You can spend your $9,700 buying one Bitcoin, or you can get into the mining. Right, the mining is a fluid situation where it will adjust itself, kind of like a dollar cost averaging. So what that means is most likely you will mine more than one Bitcoin in the long run. Right, whereas if you want to buy it, it'll stay at one Bitcoin, obviously. All right. So and the network, like we were projecting, that's how it's adjusting itself. Even though we have the halving, yes, we were getting 50% less at the halving, and now the difficulty is coming down. So that's going to adjust. We're getting more and more Bitcoin, and so the more Bitcoin we get in, and also the price increase that's going to come later, as we all projected. So yes, I'm loving it.
Yeah, I think there are a few things for us to keep in mind. One of the things, the Bitcoin network is built to reward the miners, because you have to keep in mind that if miners are not satisfied, then we don't have a Bitcoin network. So it is built in that even after the halving, with the mining difficulty adjustment and also the miners' fees, that the miners will always be profitable. Now, obviously, depend on some mining companies, for example, what they're paying for electricity, what kind of equipment they're using and things like that. yes, you're going to have some mining companies that won't be profitable at a certain Bitcoin price, right? But for those mining companies like our company who have the latest machines, we have some of the cheapest electricity. But overall, this Bitcoin network, it is built in so that the miners will always have to be profitable. As long as you run a good business with efficiency and you know what you're doing, yes. Because like I said, if the miners one day decide to pick up their ball and go home, then that's it. That's it for Bitcoin. So us as miners, we always have to be profitable. As long as we run a good business, that's all. What say you, Mr. Wang?
Oh, I love it. I just got another 10% pay raise. For really doing nothing.
Yeah, that's a good analogy,
right? And that's the way I look at it. Every time when a difficulty level drops, I get a pay raise. So what other business can you have out there that you just get it automatically, right? So I love it. I woke up this morning and I mined another $135 worth of Bitcoins today.
Nice.
That's what's
very
up.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What?
And
not a bad day of work.
And that's completely passive too. That's the thing about it. It's completely passive.
Right. And also,
right.
wait, I would love to hear what our audience have to say, what our customers. So if you put on Facebook, let us know, all right, how you feel about Bitcoin mining. All right. Also, with the in this article, it says the electricity rate. Actually, I saw another article comparing to this. They say in China, in sanctioned China, their rate is about, this article, it says about 3 cents per kilowatt. All right, during the monsoon season, they use in a hydro plant, so that means more water, more rains it has is cheaper for them. So at this rate, there is 3 cents per kilowatt hour for them, right? So what about non-monsoon, right? Non-monsoon maybe 6, 7. I'm not sure. So is it safe to say what they spend in their electricity rate in China, it's about 3 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour. And also, does that include the manpower, the maintenance fee, the people, the technicians, right? The human power. Does it include the facility? Okay, or is it just raw electricity fee? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So let's say you put all that in, maybe 3 to 7 cents, or I would say 4 to 7 cents. You put all those other costs in it, okay? And that's in China, And what we get in, what our rates are, we are very, very competitive. Okay, at our rates, our all in, right? At all in, as our facility grows, as our data center grows in Canada, the all in rates, it will be partly in the force, all in. Right, so
including overhead and everything,
including everything. Right, so that's how competitive we are. Right, we're talking about China, that are they'll consider as an emerging country, right? An emerging country. They're not fully developed yet. Right, so a country like that, it's getting at the highest monsoon season, the lowest rate, pure electricity rate, they're getting at 3 cents. Right. Whereas we are in Canada, in North America, it's Canada is probably one of the most stable country. I would say even a little more stable than the U.S. Right?
Yeah.
They're like the Switzerland.
Everyone loves Canada, right? No, yeah, like everyone loves the Swiss. Everyone loves Canada. Yeah.
So in a stable country with a very low electricity rate, and then we're able to manage to get that. So that's why I'm so excited, and we will be in business for a very, very long time, and we will help all our members and ourselves to be profitable.
Well, that's what it's all about. The thing is, and I know our members already understand this and is experiencing this, but this company is built so that everyone that's involved wins. This is a win-win. You know, you guys win, we win, everyone wins. So just kind of want to expand on that. Yes, the company is designed that our members are completely happy. You know, it's not just, you know, one set of people winning or whatever. Everyone wins. As long as they have a mining package, you win it. Now, obviously, those with a bigger package with more gigahash is going to win a little bit more than others that have the smaller packages. But nonetheless, every single person is winning, and you know that's a good thing.
Yeah, Jen, just touch on a couple of points. You mentioned China's electricity rate during monsoon season, which is the rainy season, can go as low as 3 cents. But when they're off season, a lot of the mining companies choose to turn off their machines and actually transport their machines physically into like Inner Mongolia, where they can get powers from the sun. So they have solar plants over there. But you know, the loss of time when you have to pack up the machines, transport them, we set it up so you know, you don't get the full dollar cost averaging benefit like you do over here when you are constantly mining, you know, 24/7, 365 days. So that's another advantage that we have over in China. And you know, like you guys were mentioning, the political condition is a lot more stable over here in North America as compared to you know, some of these Asia countries. So it's a much better position.
Absolutely. And just one last thing I want to touch on this topic before we move on. What Mr. Jingao said at the beginning in terms of comparing buying Bitcoin as opposed to mining Bitcoin. And as I said it before, and I will always say, you know, when you mine Bitcoin is the ultimate dollar cost average in, right? And also, you know, when you mine Bitcoin, it's definitely a long-term thing, not a, you know, instant gratification type thing. It's a long-term, you know, think of yourself as an investor, a long-term value investor. You know, that's going into something for the long-term benefit, not just for an instant gratification. And, you know, like I was saying last week, you know, when you look at a scenario, would you rather buy one Bitcoin right now and, you know, 5 years from now, you still have one Bitcoin? Or you can actually invest in a mining package, you know, buy a mining package and in the next 5 years have 5 or 6 Bitcoin. You know, which one do you prefer? One right now with an instant gratification, or wait 5 years and have 5 or 6 Bitcoin? You know, that choice is yours, right?
All right.
All right. So moving on. Next topic, and this actually came in from one of our members, Skip.
Okay.
Skip came across this article, sent it to me and said, "Hey Gershom, this is a great article. When you check it out, and hopefully you guys can discuss it on the live stream."
Okay.
So here we are. So the U.S. dollar is on the brink of losing its reserve currency status, which is a big deal. You know, the U.S. dollar has been the reserve currency status for decades. And so what that means is, you know, other countries, even though they may have their own currency, when they purchase things on the international scale, they have to use U.S. dollars. That's why for a very long time, the U.S. dollar had, people call it petrodollar. That's because any country that wanted to purchase oil for a very long time, they had to use U.S. dollars. So they need U.S. dollars in their reserve. But right now, what happened over the years, the U.S. To a certain extent has weaponized the dollar. You know, when you hear the U.S., you know, say they're going to have sanctions in certain countries, what they're doing is, you know, let's say that the Iran is acting up or Russia's acting up, and they say we're going to pass sanctions on them. What they do is they limit their access to the SWIFT system. And if they don't have access to the SWIFT system, then they don't have access to dollars. So a lot of countries over the past few years have been taking measures to de-dollarize themselves, so to speak, getting away from the U.S. dollar. And that's, a lot of companies are looking at Bitcoin as one example to get away. Russia, for example, has ramped up its gold mining, and actually is starting to, you know, sign deals around the world to purchase certain things in ruble as opposed to the U.S. dollar. So, you know, over time, and as time goes on, yes, the U.S. dollar is going to have some headwind, and you know how things play out, we'll see. But right now, the U.S. dollar is losing some of its glory days, so to speak. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
you know,
no, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, I was just, it's funny that we're talking about this. Hong Kong, as you all know, is going through some turbulence time with China. They're trying to enact this national security laws in Hong Kong right now. That would, in effect, kind of take away the current system that they're under, which is, one country, two systems. It gives Hong Kong under the current system, pretty much like a free society, right? Unlimited amount of um, right of speech and pretty much like a U.S. But if they do enact the national security laws in Hong Kong, it would pretty much wipe out all that freedom that the Hong Kong people are enjoying right now. And the implication would be that it would make it tougher for a lot of these international companies to try to do business over there in Hong Kong, which is a global financial hub. And the SWIFT system actually came up in discussion because U.S. threatened to pull the special tax status, from Hong Kong, which means that, whatever that is being imported from Hong Kong or exported out from Hong Kong will be taxed at the current China rate, right? Right now, currently, anything coming out of Hong Kong, importing into Hong Kong, it still enjoys an ultra low tax rate or a zero tax rate, which is very, very different from mainland China. However, one of the weapons, like Gershom was putting and saying, is to limit actually the financial institution, particularly those banks that are chartered in China but operates in Hong Kong, to limit their use of the SWIFT system. And did you guys know that the SWIFT system is actually a private society, it's a private community, but because the board members, majority of them, are US based banks, okay, and they have to, so that makes it very easily for the US government to kind of exert its power, or extending its power into the SWIFT systems, which is amazing, right? So
Yeah, and they've pretty much almost like they kidnapped the SWIFT system and use it to the advantage to to do sanctions against other countries and so forth. So, and another thing to think about is it's been reported that there's a shortage of dollars outside of the U.S. So you have dollars inside the U.S. Then you have dollars outside the U.S. because what happened is those countries that borrow money, because the U.S. dollar is a reserve currency, they have to borrow in U.S. dollars. Like, and other countries outside of the U.S. that have manufacturing industries, they also, their companies, their industries have to borrow in U.S. dollars. So what happened is, they have to pay that loan back in U.S. dollars also. So when there's a shortage of U.S. dollars outside the U.S., they don't have the U.S. dollars to pay the U.S. back. So they have problems also. And that's why there's actually a risk of some emerging countries, if you will, probably defaulting on their debt because they don't have they don't have access to the U.S. dollars like they used to service their debt. So there's a lot of things on the horizon, and that's why so many people, so many analysts who are experts are looking at Bitcoin and saying, hey, you know what? We may really need to look at this thing because what's going to happen between here in the next 5 years as it relates to the US dollar, is going to be some very shaky grounds coming up in the next couple of years.
Mm-hmm. I mean, US and has been and is the number one economy in the world, right? And everybody everybody want to come to the US. I came here about 30 years ago and everybody dreamt about coming to the US.
Absolutely.
And I think it still holds true right now. I think a lot of people want to come here. That's why, yes, we have to appreciate what we have. And I love the US. I love what the country represents. I love the opportunities that we have. But how many people can come to the US? It's, now we're limited immigration. and then there's just so many people that can come to the U.S. Right? So you're talking about the U.S. We have what? How many people we had?
320. I would say between 320 and 340 million.
Okay, so we have what, over 7 billion people in the world. What about the other 7 billion people? Right? What about the other 7 billion people that cannot come to the U.S.?
Yeah.
All right. So, but you look at other countries, especially the Middle East and some other countries and other people. If you see it, not everybody loves the U.S. We do, right? We think some people do, but not everyone does. And actually, some people are very jealous, and some of them may hate the U.S. Some people are jealous, right? So now we have, and every country is, yes, using the greenback, right? Our U.S. dollar as the world currency pretty much right now. That's what it's being used as. Would other countries love to see another currency as to be kind of like the global currency? Yes, right. So many people are jealous of the U.S. already, and people that do not like the U.S., they would love to see, right? And other countries, even if they okay with the U.S., right, everybody, it's always in competition. All countries are always in competition, right? Who has a better economy? Who has U.S. by far right now? We have, we have the number one economy, and also all the U.S. companies. If you look at the S&P 500 and the world companies, most of them are made up by U.S. companies and those banks, like Jason was saying,
sure.
right? Yeah. So yes, if you have using the U.S. currency as kind of like the global currency or the greenback, and the Swiss system that's heavily influenced by the U.S., right? But how would the whole world see it, right? I'm pretty sure the whole world would want to have something that's not totally influenced by us. Yes.
Yeah, but
what you're saying.
So here's the thing, though. We can't identify. When I say we, I'm talking on a global scale. Identify which currency would take its place, right? Because it definitely, so if you look at the more developed countries, right, it's not going to be the euro because they have problems. I mean, they have negative rates over there. I don't think it's going to be the Japanese yen. I don't think it's going to be the Chinese renminbi or the yuan. So
exactly, there's no one currency. As a U.S. citizen, right? Do you want to see the Chinese renminbi as a global currency?
No one wants to see that.
No one does.
Yeah.
All right. Besides the Chinese, of course, in China.
That's it.
And that's why we get in that cryptocurrency at people's currency.
There you go. So that's where a lot of guys are coming up with the argument, or at least presenting the argument, say, hey, maybe Bitcoin, should be the next reserve currency. Now, would we love to see it? Absolutely. But then the argument comes up, so it's a bit too volatile right now to take that spot as a reserve currency. But I think once Bitcoin finds this equilibrium where it's more stable, it's not so. Every currency will have some volatility. That's why you have currency trading and so forth. But Bitcoin volatility can be violent sometimes, right? So that's the downside to looking at Bitcoin as a reserve currency is dramatic volatility. But I think, if that were to even out to where it's not as volatile, then definitely Bitcoin could be a reserve currency. One of the things that they're also talking about is the next currency that takes that place will have to be backed by something, at the very least by gold. It can't just be, you just print willy-nilly whatever you want. That's another reason why the US dollar is in trouble, because imagine our Fed chair went on television and told the world that they're willing to print as much money as and there's no limit.
Right.
It's like what? So, there's so many things right now that's playing against the US dollar remaining the reserve currency. And what's going to take its place? I don't know. Arguments have come up that say the SDR could take its place. Now, the SDR is a basket of currencies that's mainly used by the IMF. And that's where Facebook got its idea for Libra. So the SDR have maybe, I think it has the US dollar, the British pound, the euro, Japanese yen, the Swiss franc, and I think the Chinese yuan. So they're looking at, could the SDR be something like a reserve currency? But that also in itself is another fiat currency system. So I think people are sick and tired of fiat currency. But yeah, interesting times ahead to see how this is going to unfold. But for sure, the US dollar, I think, its run as a world reserve currency is coming to an end. How it plays out, what takes its place, and how that transition is going to happen, that's left to be seen, I suppose.
Wouldn't it be cool if Bitcoin takes its place as a backing for these fiat currencies?
That'd be awesome. I would love that. What? I would love that.
That would put some control into these central banks. Sometimes I look at central banks as my kids. Sometimes if you just leave the cookie jars open, they'll keep going back there and keep taking out the cookies. It's almost like unlimited. Right?
Yes.
So there's no difference with these central banks that are around the world. Even if you use the SDR methodology or concept, there's no one currency that are in that basket that is limited or backed by something that has a finite supply. So that's not gonna resolve any of the current issue that we have, with the USD. So
right. And one of the question probably some new members or new people would ask is, you talked about earlier that U.S. currency serve as a world reserve currency might not be not enough currency out there.
Yeah.
How's 21 million? The Bitcoin, there's a limited supply of 21 million, right? Now, how it's only 21 million? How is that enough, right? Yeah, so Bitcoin is actually divisible, right, to the eighth decimal place, right? So you have 21 million that's divisible to the eighth decimal place. So I didn't even do the numbers, so it's going to be a lot. So you can. Even though there's only 21 million, but you can divide it into very small fraction of a Bitcoin.
Jason, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you had done the research before. I'm not sure, and figured out that one Bitcoin can be broken down to over 1 million Satoshis. Right? Am I right on that or not?
Hey, Jason?
Okay.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you, Jason. I'm not sure if it's on our end or your end. I didn't do anything different, so I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I think he got cut off.
Yeah, I think he got cut off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if it's divisible to the eighth, actually, the million is 7 digits, right? 2 commas, 7 digits. So it's actually 10 million, but I think it is 1 million. Yeah. Well, all right, let's see if someone knows.
Yeah, someone in the chat, do you guys know what's the smallest that you can divide one Bitcoin? I think it's 1 million
Ron
Satoshis.
Just put down here, it can divide it into 100 million.
100 million Satoshis?
Yeah, that's kind of a lot.
That sounds that's a big number, Ron.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You may be right, though. We have to look into that further.
Right. We'll do our research in between.
Yes.
All right. Let's see how many Satoshis or how many parts can
I think Jason is back on. Right. Is that you, Jason?
Yep. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Okay.
I was asking you earlier, I thought I heard you said at one point that one Bitcoin can be broken down to 1 million Satoshis. Was that correct?
No,
or no?
10 millions.
10 million Satoshis. Okay.
Correct.
Got you.
All right. Yeah, we have another participant that says 100 million.
Oh, yeah?
Okay.
I'm sorry. That's correct.
100 million.
Is correct.
Is that what Ron said?
Yeah, that's what Ron said.
Yeah, one of our members said it was 100 million Satoshis. That's okay. Wow. So Bitcoin could be, other than the volatility, definitely Bitcoin could be used as a reserve currency because not only the fact that you can break one Bitcoin down into 100 million Satoshis, but it's still the hardest money that's out there, right? There's nothing else that's as hard as Bitcoin. The closest thing that comes to it is gold, and gold to me is not as hard because we still don't know how many gold reserves are out there. I find it hard to believe that we have dug up every single ounce of earth to see if there's gold out there. So I'm sure that there's gold out there someplace that we haven't discovered yet. I've heard, the conspiracy theory arena that there are tons of gold in the Grand Canyon that's been covered up. So who knows? But one thing we do know is that there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. That much we know. Everything else is kind of like speculations, if you will.
Right. So Gershom, it's kind of interesting. It's all about supply and demand. So even though there might be tons or hundreds of tons of, thousands of tons of gold reserve that are somewhere available, but how much does it cost to, extract that gold out of the mine, right?
Yeah.
So right now, it might be cheaper and more profitable for people to kind of recycle, these golds from, old electronics, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, just like I look at these gold miners and us, our business is very, very similar because, if it's not profitable for the gold miners, they're not going to go to the mine and try to dig up golds, right? So the price of gold has to support the mining cost, similar to what we're doing. The price of the Bitcoin has to support our mining costs in order for us to have the incentive to continue to go.
Yes, I was going to say that. Just like, there have to be an incentive for the gold miners to go out with their heavy equipment and geologists and all that.
Yeah.
So the same thing with miners. If it's not profitable, why should I keep mining? Right? It's the same concept.
Exactly.
But what's the difference actually is even if people stop mining gold, there's still gold, right? Or silver, right?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
If people stop mining those commodities, it's still there. But for Bitcoin, it's not. For Bitcoin, why what the Bitcoin miners have to be profitable is because if we stop mining, there is no Bitcoin actually. There's no Bitcoin network, so the Bitcoin doesn't run. Okay. Now, can you store your Bitcoin into a cold storage and just store it without miners? You can.
Yeah.
You can have the Bitcoin without miners. You can just have it, but it's not going to work.
It's not. It won't be able to transact with it, basically, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you have to have the miners to have those transactions. Okay, so that's the difference.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on. Next topic. So, even after the halving, and yes, there are some miners that actually came offline, but right now the statistics shows that miners are mining at a ferocious pace.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, as many Bitcoin that can be mined today, Grayscale alone is buying up all the Bitcoin that's mining right now. The amount of Bitcoin that Grayscale is buying up surpass the amount of Bitcoin that's been mined today. So that goes to show you that the demand for Bitcoin is growing. There's a growing appetite out there for Bitcoin, and that appetite is only going to get bigger and bigger as time goes on. And especially with all the money printing, with all the these ridiculous monetary policies, UBI, modern monetary theory, all those policies, they're bad for the dollar, right? And so the more and more people recognize that, the more and more they gravitate towards something that can pull them outside of this current system, right? Because everyone knows if I stay in a dollar-based system, then my investment, my assets, they are going to be devalued by this dollar-based system. So what's my edge? And like I said before, normally it used to be gold, right? But now gold have a competition, a very strong competition. And so the appetite for Bitcoin is growing because individuals are looking at Bitcoin as a way for them to hedge themselves against this dollar devaluation.
Yep. All these dollars that are being printed right now or and given to the people. And it's funny, a lot of my friends and people that I know, they would prefer not going to work. They're actually making more money now, not working.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people like that.
And everybody's feeling good right now because everybody has money.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's feeling wealthy because they don't have to work. They're still getting their money. And everybody probably keep on spending money. All right. So, and that's why you see the stock market is doing actually fairly well. The stock market is doing pretty well right now. Right? It's because all this illusion of people being wealthy or people having money. Right? It's because all these money being printed. But I really do feel eventually it will catch up to them.
100%.
It will feel that $1,200 stimulus check that you have right now. Well, first of all, it's going to be gone. Right? It's going to be gone next week. And then you talk about months later, or let's say a year later, that $1,200, it's going to be like $12. Right? Maybe not $12, maybe $120. Okay.
Well, listen, the piper is gonna have to get paid. I think of it this way, Jason. I think of it like it's like you at a party or you're out partying and you just drinking up a storm. And in the moment when you're out partying and you're taking shots and you're doing whatever, it feels awesome. You're having a great time. Life is good, right? But it's the hangover the next day. That's when the pain comes. I feel like that's what we're going through right now. We're all at this big party. Everyone is having fun. Shots are going around, top shelf stuff. But that hangover is going to come. Many people will be out puking their guts out, just like when you puke over a hangover. It's going to happen. And so, be careful what you wish for. Well, and you're right. There's so many people right now because they're making more than if they were working. It's human nature. Why would I want to go out if I'm getting more? Why would I want to go out to work for? Right? But there's a price for everything, and there's going to be a price for this as well.
I have a lot of customers that own their own small businesses, such as restaurants, salons, and takeout. They can't get their employees to come back to work, because they're sitting home, they're making more money, and why would they come back to work? They just can't get them back. And speaking of this party and taking shots, getting a back hangover, yesterday I opened up my Facebook. One of my friends in the Facebook page posted, and if 2020 is a drink, what would you name that drink? And one of the names that came up was Kamikaze. I don't know if you guys ever had a Kamikaze drink when you go to a bar. Anybody ever order a Kamikaze?
I may have. It's been many moons ago though, but I'm sure I've
okay,
had it.
It's like
so Kamikaze. It's like a sake bomb, right?
Yeah. Is that one with the fire and all that stuff?
No fire.
Okay.
Sake bomb. So you have beer at the bottom, and then you put some hard liquor or sake at the top, and then you knock down your sake into the beer, and then you chuck it down, right?
Okay.
Pretty much like this, but then I would say that this is actually stronger than a sake bomb. This is like a 1, 2, 3 punch. The first punch is the COVID-19, right? The second punch is the all the protests that is going on, right? We still haven't, still a little unrest. Some businesses are still boarded up. I don't know when they're going to be able to open up. And then the third punch is all these quantitative easing. That's going to hit them, at some point when they go back to the grocery store and say, holy cow, a pound of ground beef is like $10. I mean, some Whole Food is already charging $10, but Now imagine when the rest of the supermarket are charging $10, Whole Foods is probably going to charge like 20. You know,
You know,
truly
something
living up to the.
I was thinking about
Yeah.
this, Jason and Jen. You know, and we were talking about this before a couple of weeks ago. Also, is that once they start these checks, can they stop? Right? Once you get people accustomed to getting, you know, I know it seems like it's free money, but it's really not. But once people get accustomed to getting this check, you know, whether it's every 2 weeks or whatever, I heard that, you know, they want to pass more stimulus bill. They want to give people $2,000 a month, whatever, right? Once they start down that track, can they get off? And I know that we've seen some riots and stuff for the past couple of weeks, you know, and the reason for the riots very, very, you know, just atrocious what happened to the young man that passed away. But just don't be surprised if once the government say, okay, no more checks, we may see a different kind of riot. So just, you know, keep your eye on that for a minute.
Right. Well, those checks, they do have to stop, right? Well, like what you guys are saying earlier, comparing it to that party, that drinking party. Yeah, it's the same thing, right? We're drinking now. When you keep on drinking, you're okay. Right? When you stop drinking, that's when the hangover comes.
Yes.
All right. So when the checks stop coming, that's the hangover.
Yes.
Right. That's when people are feeling, yeah, I shouldn't have that
maybe
much
I shouldn't.
drink.
Maybe I shouldn't
have done that.
I should have saved that money.
I shouldn't have had that last shot.
Right. Or I should have put that money into Bitcoin mining.
Yes. But listen, the bottom line is there is a price to pay for everything of a price, guys. There are no free lunch. You know, there's no free lunch. And as a country, as a society, we're going to pay the price for all this money printing, you know, all this irresponsibleness by our leaders and government officials. Yeah, we're going to pay a price for this. So, my personal opinion, I mean, you know, if it's every man for himself, but I think that Bitcoin is one of the best hedge that we can have against all this craziness that's going on. You know, look at the stock market is already look like we are going to have a V-shaped recovery. Who knows? You know, this could be a fake out. This could be a bull trap. We don't know, but it certainly looks like it. But you know, when you're printing up all this money, you're dumping it, you're putting it in the hands of a few at the top. It is going to find its way into the stock market. That's just how things work. But it's, you know, like we were talking about last week, it's fake. All of this stuff is fake. Nothing is real. Just look, and Jason, we did mention this, we touched on this lightly last week, that the unemployment number, we joked around and said, hey, you know, they're saying that these numbers may have been fudged. And now there's an article, I didn't read the article, but I saw it came out that they went back and revisited the numbers, and yeah, the numbers were misrepresented. So the unemployment wasn't as much as it was presented. So everything is fake, guys. You may not want to believe it, but there's so many things right now that's fake. So you better be putting yourself in something that's real, because this fakeness can only last for so long.
You really want to be careful. When I look at the S&P, the three biggest indexes, you know, S&P 500 is only within about 180 points from its all-time high, guys. All right, and this is so unbelievable, and I really believe that it has a lot to do with all that free money that has been printed. You know? And there's more to come. It's only 2.6 trillion. There's probably another, you know, $2-3 trillion to come.
Listen, I've been saying that when it's all said and done, they're going to print easily between $6 and $10 trillion. I'm telling you, minimum 6 trillion, between 6 and 10 trillion. That's how much money.
So to avoid from having that really bad hangover, all right, watch out for your finances. Make some smart decisions.
Yes, and keeping it in cash or in money, the value of the dollar is gonna most likely go down with all these money that's coming in and being printed, right? So yes, you do have to be smart on where to put your money, right? And spending it is not a solution either.
Definitely not.
Well, saving it in US dollars is better than spending it.
Exactly. Yes.
But it's around that time, so
yeah. So look, we're gonna real quick. So every one of these live streams, we bring you guys some really good information, and so we have another video for you guys today. Look, guys, pay attention to what they're talking about. This video we have Raul Paul. He's used to be a hedge fund guy. Well, he used to work for Goldman Sachs. Then he left Goldman Sachs and run his own hedge fund. He's world known around the world as a hedge fund guy, super smart guy, but he's a British guy, so he talks with a British accent. So you guys gotta really listen to what he's saying to really get it, But guys, he's a Bitcoin guy, and he's one of the guys that's been saying, hey, look, within 5 years' time, we could see Bitcoin at $1 million. And so listen to his logic, listen to his reason as to how he gets there to where in 5 years' time we could see Bitcoin $1 million. So James, whenever you're ready, sir, please play that video.
Yeah, I think, look, the potential is there. And again, I don't deal in certainties, but I think this is a high probability event. And a high probability event for such an enormous call, I'm talking about, a 60% chance of this happening. So it's my favored probability that we're going to go into a big solvency event. How that plays out, that we don't know yet.
Got it. So how are you positioned then, Raul? If this is in your periphery on the horizon, what does your portfolio look like right now?
So at top-down macro level, my personal portfolio is 25% gold, 25% Bitcoin, 25% cash in the bank, and 25% trading opportunities.
And is that cash US dollars?
Yeah.
It is. You're 25% gold, 25% Bitcoin, 25% cash.
Yeah. And then within my trading opportunities, most of my bets are long bonds, long US dollars, and long gold miners, stuff like that. So it's very concentrated in these kind of themes. I'm not short equities yet, but I'm looking to start shorting the big indebted US companies,
right.
General Electrics and the AT&Ts and that kind of stuff.
Okay. Now, why such a massive bet on Bitcoin?
Because, and again, that's my liquid, available investment money, right? So that's not total net worth, because 25% total net worth is a lot, unless you happen to be very early and you've kept it all the way through. Then some people end up with huge numbers like that. Bitcoin, it's very simple. The dollar standard is going to break the system. The dollar has eaten all of its competitors, and now it's going to eat itself by going up too high. There's almost no way of stopping it. And all the central banks have talked about it. They know it. And they know that they want to move to digital currencies and create a new way of moving currency around the system. It doesn't necessarily just involve the US at the center of it, the infrastructure at the center of it, and all the current market dynamics and structures that we have. There's a number of other things you can do when you move to that, is you can create these very efficient digital baskets. So like Libra, which is the Facebook idea. But anyway, we are moving towards a digital currency world. Bitcoin acts like the gold, the collateral, the personal reserve asset that everybody needs. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the truth in the digital world, while gold is the truth in the currency world. Doesn't necessarily make Bitcoin a currency, but it makes us extraordinarily valuable store of value. And also, as that entire space grows, as we move into decentralized finance, we move into tokenization, we move into the full digital realm, the Internet 3.0, well, the poster child, for at least for a while, is going to be Bitcoin. It can be Ethereum, it can be a bunch of other stuff as well, but really it's that. And if I look at the chart, always start with the chart looks like it's going to $1 million. I just can't see it any other way. Now, how long does that take? Probably 5 years. Find me a single other asset that's going to give you 100x asset. Not share price, not a junior miner that's just that nobody. Find me an asset, an entire asset class that could be 100x. There isn't one. That's why the magnitude of opportunity with Bitcoin is like nothing I've ever seen before. And it's also that whole kind of vortex of people getting into this. They start with understanding a little bit. Then they don't trust it. Then they question themselves. Then they don't know. Then they start to learn. And once you learn, you realize the more and more and more you learn about it and the ecosystem, that it's basically blown your entire mind. And everyone becomes a complete groupie to it. And I've seen the greatest macro minds in the world, with the latest one being Paul Tudor Jones, who've gone, I get it. The opportunity set is bigger than anything else in the world. But let's go at a simple level. We are going to move to a different financial system. We have to. That is commensurate with the modern age of the internet. We cannot pass money around. It takes me 4 days to get from Cayman to Canada. All of this stupid stuff that goes on when I can do it literally in a few seconds. It takes me 4 days. We're living with legacy systems in terms of lending, who owes what to whom, custody, trust, all of these things that are going to change. Bitcoin is basically the share price of that.
Sure.
And it also has a tremendous store of value. So while the world is basically debasing fiat currency, Bitcoin, on the other hand, is hardening its currency because the algorithm every few years reduces the supply of Bitcoin, which is the absolute opposite of all other asset classes. So it makes it extremely hard as an asset. And it's just about faith. And I think at $10,000 a Bitcoin and a market cap of 200 billion, we're pretty close to saying, okay, there's enough people that have faith and adoption in this. The next phase is, where does it go from here? And speaking to many of the big family offices, investment funds, everybody else, basically the entire world is short the upside of this. If Bitcoin goes up to 20,000, the next skeptic's going to go, Christ, okay, I get it, I need to get in. If it goes up to 50,000, half the endowments, half the family offices, all right, we're going to have to get in, because this is, the more it goes up in market cap terms, the more meaningful it is. Because it's not just a super spike that goes up and down like tulip bubble, right? It comes over time a growing adoption. And what it is, it's a growing adoption to a new entire system.
And 5 years is a very short timeline, in my view, for that kind of a gain. What does that world look like? What has to happen?
Bitcoin already is the best performing asset price in all best performing asset in all recorded history, right? So nothing has ever performed like this has.
Okay.
So it would be a slowdown of the rate of change of growth to say $1 million in 5 years.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
It would be a slowdown. We did about the same gain in 2017 alone.
Yeah. Yeah, that was wild. Yeah, we were running a tech conference in Toronto, and it was anybody talking about Bitcoin, people were pulling down the drapes trying to get in the room, which to me was a big red flag, right? You know, when you see that kind of activity on a
All right. So, as always, I really hope you guys got a lot from that interview. Raul Paul is someone that I follow a lot. I follow him on Twitter. I listen to his podcast on YouTube. He's just a very smart person. And like I said, when someone like that, someone like Paul Tudor Jones, all these guys are telling us, these guys are multi-billionaires, and they're telling us, guys, Bitcoin is the thing that you should be in. So, as far as I'm concerned, I don't have a position to say no. I have to take that risk and be in Bitcoin, as the way I see it, because if these guys have been around the world, who've built billion-dollar industries and companies, right, have managed billions of dollars, and they're telling us, guys, Bitcoin. I don't have a position to say no. I'm not doing it. So, hope you guys learn some things for that. What do you think, Mr. Jingao?
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we're going. And actually, the thing about Bitcoin is, we don't have to wait long to see what's going to happen. When we're talking about end of this year, what's the price going to be, and next year. That's it. All right. We'll really see where it's going to take us. So I'm excited to see Toronto. All right.
All right. So that brings us to Mr. Wong. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that interview?
It's funny. I was just watching that interview this morning when I was on my treadmill.
No way.
And, yeah, seriously. So that was before you sent out the notification that this is the video that you were going to play. So, yes, I think we don't have to wait long to see the results. But what I find encouraging is the fact that he's putting aside 25% of his investable asset, right, in Bitcoin, which is huge. Mm-hmm. And also the other stuff that he also mentioned in the videos that if you guys remember, he doesn't have a very good, I guess, outlook on the equity side, right? The other 25% that he's keeping it in cash, that he's looking for an opportunity to get in is really reserved for something else. Exactly. So yeah. So
good
that
stuff.
tells you something. Yep.
Good stuff.
All right. We're gonna have join Gershon for his 9 o'clock webinar, and of course tomorrow 7:30. Right. We're gonna have our regular Tuesday 7:30 training, and we'll talk a little bit more about Bitcoin price, and what's happening with the company. All right. So thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
And you guys have a good one.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, everybody.
See you guys tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern time for the compensation webinar, okay? Mr. Wong, have a good evening, sir. Any final words from you, Mr. Wong?
No, that's it. Hey, guys, I know a lot of the city have, start slowly opening up. Philadelphia just opened up last Friday. We're officially in the yellow status, but please continue to practice social distancing. I went to the post office this morning. I cannot believe how long the line was and how many people did not wear face masks and not keeping a 6 foot distance. All right. So please, just because the government saying that, we're opening it up, but please, we're opening it up with caution. We have to continue. That's the only way to fight it. We have to continue to be vigilant on social distancing, wearing your mask in public area, wash your hands frequently, preferably if you can, wear your gloves, right? And wear your eyeglasses, even if it's non-prescription, because that helps protect you from contracting the virus.
All right, good stuff.
All right.
Stay safe.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
James, thank you as usual. You guys take care, and see you guys tonight and tomorrow.